All right, everyone, welcome back to the Anchor of the Week. How's it going?
Oh, are you asking me or you?
It was theoretical, but also you.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I'm great, and I hope everyone else is great. We are excited for today.
Yes.
Oh.
We have a very special guest. First of all, this is a special episode.
Yes.
We are calling this the bonus episode of our World Wide Web series. We are so excited because we have Kat Lewis with us here today.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yes. Who is she? Are you asking? She is the UK Reach coordinator. Oh, I got it.
Yes. Nice.
Again, I never write this stuff down. I feel like that's probably what I should be doing. But here we are. For A21 UK. Yeah. We will get into A21. Of course, you can tell us a little bit about that. But basically today, guys, we are talking about the realities of human trafficking and modern day slavery. Yep. And A21 is an amazing global organization that we have worked with before, or at least partnered with.
Been the protests and stuff.
Yeah.
Protests, is that right?
March, demonstration.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
Freedom walks, stuff like that.
Yeah, walk for freedom.
Walk for freedom. That's
Yeah.
it. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you guys do great work, just not here in the UK, but all over the world, for like setting modern day slaves free, which is amazing. But today we're going to talk about the realities of how it's happening closer to home than we ever thought.
Yeah.
Specifically online. So we're really excited about this because we think that this is a very important topic and like definitely needs to be talked about and a conversation that needs to be had. So thank you for taking the time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Kat, do you want to just give us your role? What is A21 first of all? Because not everyone knows.
Yeah.
And then just your role in the company.
Yeah, so A21, we're an anti-human trafficking organisation, if you couldn't tell. And we're a global NGO. So obviously we're here in London, but we have offices all over the world. We've got 19 different locations in about 14 different countries. And we are basically fighting modern day slavery. Our mission statement is to abolish slavery everywhere, forever. Pretty big statement, but you know,
but we love that.
Yeah,
we love that. Big ambitions, big ambitions.
Yeah.
But we genuinely do believe that that is possible. And we focus our main efforts on 3 elements, which are reach, rescue, and restore. Okay. So those are different programs that we offer, and coming into my role is I'm the reach coordinator, just like you mentioned, for the UK.
Cool.
So that's everything to do with prevention, education, awareness to schools, businesses, churches, any kind of community, just spreading that awareness, giving them the education tools to be available, warning signs and things like that, which is the first part of our solution before going into things like rescue and restore.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, that is cool. Brilliant. So, I mean, we really want to attack it from the kind of online space specifically. We did a big series on social media and things like that. So that's part of what we were thinking. I mean, we watched there's some Can You See Me videos.
Yes.
Yes, which we'll discuss a bit later. But we didn't realize that actually this is very much a thing online. And it's actually right in front of us even.
Yeah.
Do you want to just elaborate, I guess, what that really looks like? I mean, we really want people to be aware of this, so go as...
Yeah, you have the floor.
You do, you know.
Yeah, I mean, big topic. Unfortunately, something that's getting bigger, obviously, with the rise of the internet, especially given things like COVID, when everyone is at home behind closed doors. We have seen an increase in the number of online exploitation cases that we're facing. And that can come in many different ways. There is no situation of trafficking that looks the same as the other. It's not a one-size-fits-all category.
Sure.
It can take many different methods. Online recruitment is something, unfortunately, we see with a lot of children as well. A lot of the way minors are recruited into trafficking or exploited through trafficking because of lots of vulnerability through social media sites, all things like that. And the Can You See Me videos you mentioned is part of one of our awareness campaigns. So for the people who are listening to this, they are a series of videos and posters, and they depict sort of everyday human trafficking situations that you might see in your own country. For us, that is things like in the UK, labour trafficking, so forced labour, car washes, nail bars, agricultural farming, construction. If it is online exploitation, that's looking into social media sites, that's looking into grooming, that's looking into child sexual abuse images, all these kind of things. And a lot of people might think that because we're the UK, we're removed from the problem, you know, we're a high earning country.
Sure.
we've got a high level of education, a high level of employment, but unfortunately we're no much less of the problem than any other country is. UK is something called a destination country, and that means people are often taken from other countries and trafficked here to have their exploitation take place.
Interesting.
But also, the number one sort of top nationality of people who are actually trafficked in the UK are UK nationals themselves.
Really?
So people who are born and raised here. So just because people might come here as well does not mean that people in the UK are essentially safe from falling victim to it. And that victim can be anybody. There's no again, one size fits all of what that might look like and who that might be.
Right.
We often obviously see the more vulnerabilities a victim might have, the greater the chance of exploitation. Because how trafficking works, it relies on something called the cycle of victimization, which relies on the vulnerability of an individual, the exploitation of that vulnerability, and then the re-victimization. So the unresolved trauma from that exploitation then makes it easier to make them a victim again. And that is essentially how the cycle keeps going. And going back to online and the internet, it is much easier to get someone in a vulnerable position, or not necessarily much easier, but it is also easy to do so.
Accessible, yeah.
Accessible, exactly. It's so accessible. On online chat rooms, you can say whatever you want. You can post whatever you want. It's not necessarily monitored. You are vulnerable because you're essentially there on your own as well. And unfortunately, it's a really, really easy place where some kind of relationship can form. Yeah. One of actually the main recruitment methods of trafficking is something called the lover boy method, or the Romeo method. And stereotypically, it involves a boy who begins a relationship, a friendship with a girl online. They could be sort of maybe talking over Snapchat, let's say, sending messages. Obviously on Snapchat, you can send pictures and videos. And at the first, they may be nothing sort of alarming about that initial situation. But as that progresses, obviously the girl begins to fall in love, and those requests, those favors from the boy get a little bit more strange. Then the grooming may start, then the exploitation may start, and unfortunately gets trapped in that situation where unfortunately that girl is then trafficked. Like I said, that's stereotypical. That does not mean it's only men trafficking girls. It can happen each way. But unfortunately, that is one of the most facilitated recruitment methods on the internet that we see. Because it's easy for traffickers to begin those relationships with people who are online just trying to have some fun or just trying to be social, using social media literally the purpose for. And unfortunately, that's why people need to be aware of indicators and be aware of warning signs, which I'm sure we'll talk about a bit later.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
That's crazy. Like, my brother's 14. I got two brothers. The youngest one is 14, and he is adding people on whatever social media platform all the time who, like, he'll be like, oh yeah, I got a friend request from someone. I'll be like, who's that? And I'll be like, I don't know, from some other school. And I'll be like, why are you adding this person or whoever? And he's just like, shrugs his shoulders, and
because that's what you do.
Yeah, it's so
it's crazy because in my mindset, that's a behavior that hasn't even changed. I remember when I was that age on Facebook, you'd add someone and you'd be like, oh, mutuals.
Who are they? Yeah.
You go to this school that someone else knows. And things like that can start off very innocently, but you never know. And the blanket rule, at least, well, if I ever have children, when I have children, will be, please don't accept people you don't know. Like, literally people you don't know, because you never know. I'm not saying everybody out there in the world has ulterior motives, but you don't know, and it's to be careful.
It's the whole don't talk to strangers thing, you know, that we were told when we were little. But it's very interesting because as you're talking about this, I'm thinking about even just some of like the TikTok trends that I've seen about like, oh, our love story, you know, we met on Instagram and now I'm flying across the world to see him. And it's like these beautiful kind of like romantic things. And I didn't even put two and two together, honestly, until you were talking about this. But how even unhealthy that kind of is as well, because then you have people that are looking for this kind of love story, if you will.
100%.
Yeah, and then how wrong it can go, you know, when you actually don't know.
And that's the thing, like that want for affection, love can be that vulnerability that gets exploited. Like it really can. Yeah. Everybody essentially as a human being searches for community, love and affection. Like that's how you're raised. Yeah. So people, just like you said, they might go out there searching, not directly but naively. And it's actually a case that we do see sometimes that people who are trafficked from the Loverboy method, for example, they don't want to receive help or be taken out of that situation of exploitation because they genuinely are in love with their trafficker.
Yeah.
Which is a very difficult situation to navigate as an organization, as police, as any kind of organization that would intervene with that, because at the end of the day, if they're over the age of 18, they have to consent to be given help.
Yeah.
Even if we know that that situation is not good for them,
Right.
they have to understand that, and they have to consent to getting that help themselves.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Because at young age, you don't know what's good and bad and what's not good for you and stuff like that, you know? That's
Exactly.
Wow.
And people always talk about like red flags in relationships, ignoring the red flags.
Yeah.
And the reason, at least in my opinion anyway, that the Loverboy method is so well functioning as a method of recruitment is if you like someone, if you love someone, especially at maybe a younger age when you're slightly more inexperienced with those kind of relationships, slightly more naive, simply because of your age, you ignore the red flags because you don't see them.
Yeah.
You just, the idea of loving someone, fancying someone goes and takes away all of those red flags.
Absolutely.
It really does. And that's why we focus at A21 to making sure we're putting out awareness campaigns, we're putting out education like resources for young adults, children and adults themselves that show those warning signs, that really highlight those red flags.
Yeah.
So they are known, they are seen, and you know where to report something or ask for help if you're experiencing any of those.
Yeah. So would you say then that like maybe like in your work in the UK is kind of like that teen young adult kind of like your main demographic of like trying to get awareness across, or?
So for me personally with Reach, it's one of my personal main focuses, simply because I have a big interest in teaching. I was also around the age of 15, 16. I remember being or nearly being in not trafficking situations per se, but situations where you don't know how to navigate it. And there weren't the resources that I had access to. I wasn't educated about things. And myself included, and me and my friends could have made some not great decisions.
Yeah.
And if we have been educated of these things, we might have been more aware.
Yeah.
So for me, I love going into schools and just trying to hit that key age where they're willing to listen a bit, and you can just guide them into the world of social media and the internet, because well, we're seeing it younger and younger. We actually have a primary prevention program which we're launching in the UK.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
That's cool.
it's amazing. It's amazing. So we're launching this quarter in the UK, but it's been run successfully in Southeast Asia for like over a year now, and we're putting it here because for us, for our team, for myself, we see the need for it. We really see the need for it. I don't know about you guys, if you have like cousins, younger siblings, they have social media accounts from the age of 8, from the age of 9.
Crazy.
Yeah.
The rules for social media, most of them, you have to be over 13. They're ignored. They're ignored.
Yeah.
I remember being so mad at my mom for making me wait to be 13 to get Facebook.
I remember having a secret Facebook account when I was like 10. Like I remember that.
Yeah.
So I'd try and reflect on my own experiences and think, right, if the younger the kids are, the less informed naturally they are anyway, because they're doing it in secret. If they're doing it in secret, that means there's not necessarily a person to talk to and trust.
Yeah.
So we need that early intervention to make them aware. And obviously, we're not going into primary schools and going into great graphic detail of all these things that are not appropriate for them. It's completely appropriate and contextualized, but it's teaching them about safe and unsafe relationships, safe and unsafe secrets. And it's so interesting because if you ask any parent on the street if their child knows of X amount of social media sites, they'll probably say no.
Yeah.
And then if you ask the kid, they'll probably know all of them.
Yeah.
And they'll probably have an account on all of them.
Yeah.
And there's just a whole big grey area where a child has a social media account because their parent says no, and their parent then doesn't know that they have the secret one. There's going to be some line of miscommunication there, and that is, in my opinion, just a bit of a danger zone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How do you convey that message across? Because especially to that young age, it's like you can't go to full detail for sure, but at the same time, how can they get an understanding of the situation if we can't go that far? I don't know. That's weird because like when you're explaining it to them, they're probably thinking, oh, this is just some person talking to me about how I can't have Facebook, like my parent, you know? So to find that balance of
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Must be hard, yeah.
So we don't go necessarily talking explicitly about social media and the dangers of the internet. Our PPP, our primary prevention program, is like a child-centered focused approach. So it's all play-based in a sense. So we do lots of informational, like a session that starts with a bit of information, and then it will be activities. So simple activities that kids do in the classroom that are fun for them, just teaching them safe secrets. What things should I tell? Who's in my circle of trust, which is normally like 5 important people in their life. Teaching them tools more so than teaching them explicitly what might happen.
Right.
What we have alongside of that is a parent guide, which is so resourceful for us, that parents can then understand what their child has been educated on.
That's so good.
And the parent can also educate themselves as well, and what can they do as a parent to keep them kids safe. But it's a great program. I'm so excited to run it in the UK because it's going to be amazing to see what impact that can have and build upon that learning from a young age. And as they get older, they can grow in their learning and grow in their understanding and grow in hopefully their safety of all these things that might happen.
No, that's so good.
Yeah. Like, it's interesting. I just want more on that because I feel like we tend to, I mean, especially in England, right? I mean, I think this is a thing anywhere, but like the idea of speaking out and having people who are close to you to be able to talk about things and process things, how important that is, because when you're in this situation and you're almost trapped, you know, my throat's been really weird today. Oh, hello. But it's like when you don't have someone to talk to and you're not vulnerable with someone, then you just keep it to yourself, don't you? So I feel like a huge solution to this is just teaching people how to be open to those around you, right?
It's teaching being open, but also really explaining that there is absolutely no shame in what's happened to you.
Wow.
I think a lot of people, a lot of survivors may feel shame from what's happened, from their exploitation. A lot of minors, a lot of children, embarrassed, if you put it in that word. You may feel embarrassed to what has happened to you, but that's the point. It's something that has happened to you. You are not, it was not in your consent. It's nothing to be embarrassed of, but that is a big factor that people don't speak out because they don't think people would want to hear it. They might not think people believe them and they're ashamed, which is something we really try and enforce through all of our awareness campaigns, all of our education programs, is to make sure the victim, the survivor, does not feel that shame. They do not feel that shame at all because they shouldn't.
Yeah. Now, even like as we're talking about this, I'm just human trafficking in general, right? Like I remember, I don't know, maybe about 10 years ago, it was kind of like this topic that people were like, didn't want to admit that was happening, you know? And I remember like in my different like circles and like churches and like youth and stuff, they'd kind of bring it up, or at school. And you were always kind of like, oh yeah, but it doesn't happen here, right? And as you said, like it is closer to home. And I feel like that is something that, you know, we've been getting better at, realizing like, oh, it's actually happening in the UK.
Yeah.
But we were even talking now, like, but now it's happening in your home, you know, with the whole social media and all of that. And we talked about like the lover boy kind of tactic. Are there any other like kinds, or I don't know if they have names, or just the different ways that maybe it could be happening in front of our noses without even realizing it, whether to ourselves or to our siblings or our kids, just so we can identify a bit more.
Yeah. So another really common one, which we've essentially really seen with COVID again, is false job offers. A lot of people lost their jobs in COVID. Naturally, that happened. A lot of companies went under. And traffickers have used false job offers as a method of recruitment for years and years. And that is simply maybe posting a job, in this case online, maybe on some job posting website, and saying that the job is, I don't know, maybe teaching carpentry to people in England. So someone maybe from Bulgaria is looking at that thinking, I can do that, I'm skilled, I've lost my job, I need to provide for my family, let's go for it. And I don't know about you guys, but if I really needed a job, I was in a desperate need for money and to provide for my family, I'd maybe not look into the details of it as much. And I'm not saying that's conclusive for every case. No. A lot of people do look into all the details and it's all faked for them. But you may be more likely to take it without a bit more hesitation because you really need it. And unfortunately, when they get there, that job is not what was on the job offer at all. It's something completely different. They might be taken to work in a car wash day in and day out.
Yeah.
But the whole COVID-19 situation with companies going under and people being vulnerable without the job, without the income, traffickers are preying on it. Like traffickers, it's the fastest growing organized crime on the planet.
Wow.
Then they're not stupid. They're smart. They're very smart. They're very tactful. There are 40.3 million people enslaved currently in the world, probably more. That's only the people we know about.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
It's high profit and low risk. They know what they're doing, basically. They know what they're doing. And through things like this, through capitalizing on events that are happening in the world, through capitalizing on people's vulnerability, it just happens more and more. It happens more and more.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man. Isn't that nuts?
Yeah.
Just the idea of people, okay, this person's vulnerable, they're in a bad state, and they attack that, you know, and they utilize that. That's mad.
Yeah, and I think it's good to be reminded of how, like, actually, like, for lack of a better word, maybe this is a perfect word, like, evil it is, you know, to exploit people, you know. And I think, I don't know if we become kind of desensitized to it a little bit, or because we don't like how it makes us feel, we try to remove ourselves from it.
Yeah.
But I think even just like in this conversation, like reminding ourselves, and if you're listening to this, like this should make you uncomfortable, right? Because it's awful.
Yeah, I mean, for us at A21, we always say we're here for the one. Like, we've got all these amazing statistics that we'll talk about a bit later. But at the end of the day, if we make one person become aware, if we make one life restored, that's it for us. Like, it's always about the one. And you're talking about statistics. It is easy to maybe become slightly desensitized to numbers. I say 40.3 million, and we know it's a lot, but that's 40.3 million individual lives, individual families. And something that's really important for us is making sure we stay focused on that one. We stay focused on that life, that future, and the potential with it as well. And it is uncomfortable. It's never comfy to talk about things that people don't want to realize, admit that are maybe happening. But it's important. Yeah, it's so important, because the only way we will become closer to abolishing slavery everywhere forever is having that awareness turned into action. So being uncomfortable, becoming aware, and turning that into action, learning indicators, learning warning signs, saving hotline numbers, being able to make your friends aware of things, looking at awareness campaigns, all these kind of things. It's doing something with that uncomfortability, with that uncomfortable feeling, and doing something with it.
Yeah.
And so really taking it somewhere.
That's so good.
We have discussed this, and we, like, obviously A21 does all the stuff, and you guys are really behind this, but we feel like it's everyone's job to find the solution, and to, like, it's almost like we are the solution as people.
100%.
Doesn't matter if you work for A21 or whether you have an office job somewhere. I don't know. It's like, like, we are the people who are supposed to be making people aware and bringing that attention to it, you know? So yeah, it's so funny that we're just talking about this, and it's just like, we are the solution, you know?
It is that. It is simple. Ordinary people. I am equally as much part of the solution as you guys are, as that man out there is, the man who's driving the train. The solution is us. It's you and I. And it is obviously, I mean, Christine Kane says, not one person can do everything, but everyone can do something. And that's so it. I mean, when I first heard of A21, I was 16, didn't have any money, I couldn't drive, I couldn't do all those things I thought you needed to do to play a part. I was like, I don't have thousands of pounds to donate, I can't go and drive around and do this. But what I could do was use my sphere of influence. So in my school, I was head of house. I don't know if you guys had that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm aware of.
Yeah.
Didn't go to school in England, but I'll
like,
go with it.
Think Harry Potter, like houses like that.
Got you.
I was head of house, and we had a house charity that we raised money for every year. I changed the house charity to A21.
Nice.
I posted about it on my social media. I did things like that. And although maybe I was only reaching a small circle, that's still a small circle more than none, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
And I think people often get maybe overwhelmed by the idea that they have to do so much.
Yeah.
And it's like one small conversation can have such a ripple effect.
And if we all do that, then
exactly,
you're laughing.
Exactly. Like, you know? I always say to people, give and serve and support in the way that makes sense for you. Like, obviously, we're an NGO, we're completely funded by donations, and that is obviously a key part of what we do is fundraising. But also the simple things, the reach, the following on social media, it is getting involved with your local community and doing awareness sessions. It's watching that Can You See Me video and sharing that on your Facebook. It's one small thing that has that chain reaction effect, and that is how individual people, just like you were saying, ordinary people, are going to play equally as part of the fight for freedom as anybody else.
Yeah. Do you want to, I mean, should we go through some statistics? I know you've got your...
Yeah. We were going to start out with them, but honestly, we got too carried away.
We did, yeah. Just to bring it into light even more, I guess.
Yeah.
If you like.
I mean, I look at these and I still get, like, overwhelmed by the work we do, because it is overwhelming to think of the rise of trafficking, the numbers of people enslaved, but to then see the work that we're doing and how our solution is working is just amazing for us.
Yeah.
So what I'll go over our year highlights from 2021. So we had the most ever people reach with prevention. So that is vulnerable communities, people who are maybe slightly more at risk. And that was 283,403, which is amazing.
To the T, like this.
Yeah.
Wow, so good.
We have 244,707 minors reached, so under 18, which is more than 200,000 more than we've had in the previous 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Which is crazy to think. 2021, we were still half in lockdown. We went in and out of changing regulations. It's not so easy for us, or for me personally, to be in schools, be in businesses. Everything's on Zoom. So to see things like that is incredible. We had a potential reach of almost 2.76 billion people.
Wait, with a B?
With a B.
With a B.
With a B. With 9 zeros behind it. 2.76 billion. So that's amazing. That's through things like radios, podcasts, all things like that. But that's 2 times more than we ever have in 2020. So to see that increase in a year where we were tried and tested is incredible. So although obviously the statistics of trafficking are overwhelming, our solution to trafficking is overwhelming in the completely other way, in the positive way, because of the work that we're doing. 587 victims identified, which is more than double in 2020. Loads of people screened. It's honestly like I said, I've seen these a few times and I still look at them and I'm like, that's so amazing. 209 survivors into our care, 42 of them minors, most ever. So that's people who've consented to getting help, and they're in our freedom centres and they are learning how to rehabilitate their lives. They're getting education. Some of those are even like applying for jobs now, like starting their lives independently, which is such a 360 for some of them. So to have that number, to have 209 people, their lives, 209 futures, is amazing. It's honestly amazing.
That is incredible, because if you think about that, those 200 people, in this room, or in this building, like when you think about, okay, it's 200 people, but like as you said, those are individual lives. And that is insane and so good and very encouraging. And is that like A21 UK? Is that globally? Is that...
So these are global statistics. These are global statistics. But it just goes to show, like, even though we're in 19 different countries, 14 different countries, and all our efforts from each individual country is still having these results. So we're all working together. We're all fighting the same fight.
And I love that.
And it's just amazing to see that it's all happening all over. So people are being rescued in England, but they're being rescued in Bulgaria. They're being rescued in America. We're all doing the work and it's all coming together for us.
So good.
So it's amazing.
I mean, man, we could just go on and on. So
literally.
So here's I'm just like, I love looking behind the scenes on things like this. So obviously vulnerability and things like that, obviously with kids, and like that's why they kind of get into these situations. Are they ever, like, we discuss this very briefly, like, is it ever like they lacking in anything that maybe sometimes they look for something extra online or on their whatever platform, even gaming and stuff like that? you meet people and stuff. Are they just lacking in anything? Like, they lack in love from parents or stuff like that? Like, have you ever found any similarities in that respect in terms of people who have been exploited and things like that? Or is it just a case of they're vulnerable and that's the main theme kind of thing?
Yeah, it would be hard to put a statement. Like I've said before, that one size fits all requirement. Every situation is completely different. And there is no one thing, one element that makes someone become that victim. It's not that at all. We said before, it's all about the vulnerability. So that vulnerability, just like you say, it could be they are missing social interaction, family, friends. but it's not necessarily. It could just be, you talked about your brother adding people that he doesn't know.
Simple as that, yeah.
It could just be as simple as that. And someone developing an innocent friendship, and it's so innocent from the side of the survivor, from the victim.
Sure.
Because they don't realize and they don't see. Obviously, as you look into other cases, maybe taking it offline, and you're looking at people who are maybe homeless, they don't have jobs, obviously that makes them a little bit more vulnerable than maybe the everyday person, but it's not to say that that's the only person who will ever be targeted. But if we think about how the cycle of victimization works, the exploitation through vulnerability, it is easier for the trafficker to exploit when they have a known vulnerability that they can manipulate.
Right.
Wow. Yeah. So if I was to come up and be like, okay, I'm ready to make a change.
Yes.
Talk to me how I can, what can I do, kind of thing. I know we've obviously discussed the awareness side of things, but if some random Joe blog was going to come up to you, I don't know why I said Joe blog. I
was like, is that an English slang thing?
I don't know if it is.
I think it is.
Actually, it might be. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Joe blogs.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like your Jane Doe kind of thing.
Gotcha.
I knew there was something like that. Yeah. Okay. Don't know why I said that. So, how would you kind of go about in asking them or telling them what to do, kind of thing?
First and foremost, putting the modern slavery helpline number in their phone. So if they're from the UK, we use the modern slavery helpline, but in any of the other countries that we operate, we run a 24/7 hotline, which is for reporting, for answering questions, investigations, all things like that. The modern slavery helpline number in the UK, 08000 121 700.
Nice.
Amazing.
Make sure you guys put that on your phone at the end of this.
Yes.
Having something like that in your phone, if you see something suspicious, the time you then save for thinking, what do I do? Who do I talk to? Where do I look this up? You've got something, you can make a report and you can assist in that situation in the best way you can. Obviously, if it's a direct emergency, you call 999.
Is that for just the young adults, or is that kind of just
everybody?
Yeah, sure.
I encourage absolutely everybody to put that in their phone. I put it in my parents' phone.
No, but as in, like, is that when I'm just reporting about suspicion on a young adult, or is that anything again?
Anything.
Okay,
Modern slavery helpline, so anything. Doesn't matter what age, what kind of exploitation. And like I said, it's so much better to report something and be wrong than not report it and you were right, you know? It's obviously going to be looked into. It's not just going to be people bashing down doors and raiding. It's going to be investigated into, but the reports make all the difference, especially for types of trafficking like online exploitation or domestic servitude, which is people working in households. You are behind private doors. You can't just knock on someone's door and be like, hey, can I come investigate in your house? You need warrants. You need reports. So every single report is a piece of new evidence that could point to someone becoming a survivor. So that would be my first step, 100%. My second step would be the education, the awareness, and specifically looking for indicators, educating yourself on what could be a warning sign of trafficking. So common ones, if you are in maybe an environment or a work situation that is cash only, is always something to look at. Maybe if the person who you believe is exploited hasn't spoken or seems very unfamiliar with the language, if they look like they've got very sort of submissive, unhappy, depressive behavior, if they look like they're being controlled, or they are obviously being controlled by somebody, and then you can go into things like no identification, all things like that. Signs of abuse. But I'd always say, I don't know about you guys, but if you see something a bit weird, like you get a little bit of a gut feeling. You kind of know when things are a bit off, and the purpose of our Can You See Me awareness campaigns are to kind of set the tone for that, give you that little bit, that gut feeling that makes you think, was that actually normal? Have I just brushed over that? But yeah, learning those indicators, those warning signs, so you are aware that next time you go into a situation and it doesn't seem right, you can be like, oh, that might be a not okay situation. Let's have a think about this. Maybe I should report something. And then besides from that, it goes into things like joining us on our awareness days, like Walk for Freedom. I know you guys are there.
We love it.
We do.
Highly recommend.
It was amazing. It was chucking it down with rain this year or last year, but that did not stop us. I made the mistake of doing it just in a t-shirt. I was freezing, but so worth it. For me anyway, it was amazing to see everyone still stand like that. Despite the rain, everyone was there for the same purpose, and everyone there had such a heart for that cause. And it's amazing. That's on October 15th 2022. Mark it in your calendars right now.
We will be there.
We will definitely.
You will be there.
Yes, count on us.
And obviously, like I said, we're an NGO, so we are non-government funded. We rely solely on donations from our supporters. So any education programs that we run and develop, any freedom centers that we build in countries to take care of our survivors, any medical care for our survivors, traveling, and even things like, for me, birthday celebrations for them. I think that's amazing. Graduations, anniversaries. You are still human. You're as much human as you and I are.
Absolutely.
You still deserve to have your birthday celebrated,
I love that
regardless of
so
what's
much.
happening.
Yeah,
That is so good.
We do amazing things, but for some reason that one always just sticks with me.
Yeah.
And that is what our donations go into. So they make the world of difference, and that's how we can also continue our trading and also improve it.
Yeah.
But those are probably the three main things I'd say if someone really wants to come and join in the fight for freedom. It's so easy to do, and I invite everyone to do it. Those are my three main ideas of what you should start with.
Yeah.
Incredible. And they're practical and they're simple.
Yeah.
You know, and that there is not one
We
person.
can all do it.
Exactly.
We can all do it. It's so easy to post something on your Instagram story. Like,
Yeah.
I always think, tap through my Instagram stories of all my friends. And I'm like, the things we post, the sunset last night. I don't know about you guys.
Right?
I was guilty of it too. I posted it too. But 100 Snapchat stories, Instagram stories of a sunset. Imagine if they were all of a poster of the indicators of trafficking. Like simple things like that are really tangible for us to do.
Yeah.
Like retweeting something on Twitter. You don't even need to type it. You're just retweeting it. And those simple things, they add up. And like I said before, the chain reaction starts.
That's so good.
That's why it's so amazing and so accessible to join in with the fight for freedom.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Amazing.
Wowzers.
Yeah. I feel empowered.
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
Good.
So where can we find the, like, can you see me videos and things like that?
Yep. So if you just go on to www.a21.org.
There we go.
Great website. And if you scroll down to the bottom, the very bottom, you'll find a page called Media. Click on the Media tab. And there is our Can You See Me videos. There is posters. There are even Instagram, like, story templates you can post.
Wow.
And we also have all our education resources on there as well. So we have that primary prevention program that I spoke about, the parent guides, safe relationships guide, all things like that. So you can educate yourself further. You can educate yourself on the topic, and you can go into more detail and then go with more informed conversations to everyone that you meet.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Brilliant.
Awesome. And again, that hotline, the Modern Slavery hotline number, will be in our phones.
Yes.
Yep.
At the end of this, and we will make sure we link it in the show notes as
Yes,
well.
please do.
As a website, yeah.
So you guys can just copy and paste it.
For sure. And you're on social media.
Yep, we're on social media, A21 UK on Instagram, and the Facebook is the same. And then if you want to follow our Twitter, I believe that's just A21.
Okay.
Incredible.
Brilliant.
That's
So many
us.
options.
So many options.
I love
Pick your favorite social media platform, and then follow us from that one, and make all your friends follow it as well.
There we go. Well, thank you so much,
Oh,
Kat.
man.
Honestly,
Yeah.
again,
You're
we could talk
welcome.
about this for forever, and it's so cool to see how passionate you are, and how I love that you said this started when you were 16.
Yeah.
Just trying to make a difference, being aware of the issue, and then being like, I have to do something about this.
Yeah.
And then to see how you're working here now, and it's just a really cool story. I think.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, to show that, hey,
Thanks,
like,
guys.
Yeah.
you're passionate about something, you know, if you see change or you want to see change in an area, just go for it, because you never know, right?
You never know.
That's so amazing.
Well, thank you guys for having
Yeah.
me.
Thank
Yeah.
you
It's
so
been
much.
Thank you so much. No, it's been
Many
so
thanks.
fun. It's so good. You guys
Yes.
are great. And it's so amazing that we get a space like this to facilitate these kind of conversations.
Absolutely.
And hopefully in a not too uncomfortable way, in an informative and accessible way for people to get
Yeah.
involved and to understand a little
Yeah,
bit more
yeah.
about human trafficking.
Well, it's
Absolutely.
real. It's right in front of
Yeah.
us. So we can't hide from this
No.
anymore.
can't
can we?
hide,
Really?
no.
So hopefully it becomes more normalized as well,
Yeah.
even in just like our friendship talks, you know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that we can talk about this kind of thing. Amazing. Well, thank you again, Kat.
Yeah.
Make sure you go follow A21 UK, everyone, on all the platforms that she mentioned. And Zach, where can they find us?
The anchor of the week. This happens every week.
Every week I
And
ask him. It's like a quiz.
I hesitate. Yeah. I don't know why.
On which
But yeah.
platforms?
Insta
And
and TikTok.
there we go. There we
You also have a YouTube, you
And
know
YouTube.
that, right?
Oh, yeah. We have a YouTube as well. Yeah.
I was like, I found your YouTube.
Every time. Oh.
And Kat is now our reach coordinator.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Amazing.
We
yes.
always take ages to say goodbye.
Yeah, but we're trying to get better at it. So at
Goodbyes
this,
are hard.
they are hard. And when you like to talk as much as Zach and I like to talk, we don't really want to put the mics away.
I mean, I'm with you on that, guys.
Exactly.
What can I say? We could be here for hours
For
if we wanted
literally
to be.
ever. Amazing. Well, we are going to say goodbye for real now.
Yeah.
So thank you again, Kat. Thank you for listening. And you know where to find us. And we will see you next week.
See you later.